In today's tutorial, I'm going to show us how to customize a peplum ball gown pattern for a little girl. My name is Angela and welcome back to my channel. So if you're interested in this topic, let's get started. Here I have all the things I'll be using for this tutorial. I have my satin. I'm working with 1 yard of satin, and for the net you can decide how many yards to use. It all depends on the volume you want to achieve for the skirt part. So for the net I'm working with 3 yards of my tulle, and of course I have my 1 yard of cotton lining. And this measurement I'm going to use for a 6-month-old measurement for this tutorial. So I'm going to start with by drafting out the skirt pattern, which is the most important part of this tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draft out a full circle, which I believe most of us already know how to do that. So I have my paper in 4 folds, as you can see. So the first thing to do is to mark out the waist, which is by dividing the waist measurement by 6.28. Whatever you have, you're going to be marking out on this edge. So all you need to do is just to follow the process and then work with your own measurement. So the waist measurement plus the sewing allowance is 20. So 20 divided by 6.28 is 3.18. So I'm going to mark 3.18 here and then curve it all the way around. Okay, so this is my 3.18. Alright, so I have a detailed video on the technique to use if you're making a full circle dress but your fabric is a little stretchy. There's a technique I normally use. I'm going to drop the link in the description box so you can check that out in case you need it. So this is what I did. I marked out 3 inches first, because sometimes if you mark exactly what you have, it's going to be bigger than the actual waist measurement. So this is 3 inches. That is what I use. By the time I place my tape over, you can see that I have exactly 20. This is 5 here, but you can also bend your tape this way. You can see I have 5 on the dots there, making it 20. Alright, so the next thing to do is to mark out the length of the skirt part, and I'm working with 10 inches. So I'll just follow the line and mark out the 10 inches and then connect it straight, then cut it out. So you can see this part is very easy. So I'll just go ahead, cut it out, and then we continue. I have my full circle pattern ready. Okay, so I'm going to use this side now as the front. Let me just open it up very well. So now let's assume this is going to be the side for the front. You can see I am just turning it just for this part to be facing me, so you can see what I am doing very well. Now this is where we're going to alter this pattern to customize the peplum. Alright, so now this is the center front. As you can see, I am going to notch it, and remember to notch that also when you cut it out on your fabric. So after notching this, now the next thing to do is to mark out the chest span measurement. Now for this 3 to 6 months old, I normally use 4 inches for this chest span. No matter the size of the baby, 4 inches is perfect. So what I'm going to do is to mark that 4 inches out. Remember that this is now the center front, meaning 2 should be on this center point, and I'm going to mark this is 2 inches, and here is the other 2 inches. By the time we join the bodice part, you understand better the reason why I am marking these points. You know that when sewing, you need to make it very perfect and let it be fitted. So this is the chest span measurement, which is 4, and then we're going to slash this open, but before that we're going to add the pleat on this part. Now to add a pleat, you just decide how many inches you want each of your pleats to have. So for this, 1 inch is okay. I don't want it to be too much, so I'll just add 1 inch here. Okay, now I have 5. I'll also add another 1 inch. You know the plate is on both sides, so this is for the other side of the plate. So now this is 1 inch. Now when I say pleat, by the time you pleat this part and place it right there, this is what I mean, so you don't get confused. Okay, so this is what we're going to have after pleating. By the time you pleat this other side, it's still is going to be the same. So after doing that, now I am going to create the space that I want my pleat to have before the extension of the peplum to this front side. So I just want this to be 1 inch. I don't want it to be much. Okay, so I'll add another 1 inch, which is where I'll be slashing it open now for the extension of the peplum to this front side. So this is what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have left. You know, this is the center. You can see this is the center point. I'm using this paper so you can understand better. Now this is the center, sorry, the side. This other side is also the side. Like I was saying, we're going to be cutting this out, but before that, you're going to fold the plate. This is to enable us know where to cut the pattern from. You can see I am just putting the plate, and then I'm going to do the same. You can also use your pin to secure it very well. So this is the plate for this other side. Okay, make sure that it's the same with the other side. I'm trying to reduce this because I want it to match, to be the same. You know, when it comes to sewing, detailing is very, very important. All right, so this is what I have now for the front. Now to slash this part open, all I'm going to do is to come over to this part. You know, remember the 1 inch that I marked? That is where I want the slashing to be. So I'm going to place my ruler there now, making sure that it's straight. When you stand on that part, make sure that your ruler is straight. If it's not straight, you keep on adjusting it. You can see as it is now, it is straight. So I'll just mark. So this is where we're going to be cutting off to enable the peplum to come to the front side. So I'm doing the same on this other side as well. I'm placing my ruler, making sure that it is straight, and then I'll mark. So we're going to be cutting this part off. Like I said, always remember to add your sewing allowance after anytime you slash any of your pattern open. Make sure to include the sewing allowance on your fabric. Now if you don't want to stress yourself, you can even, you know, place it this way and then notch where the first part, and then you can keep it this way and slash it open. It's still the same thing. Okay, so this is what I have now. Our the net is going to end on this part, while this other side is going to be just the satin. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this out on my fabric so we can cut out the peplum, which is the main purpose of this tutorial, so you can see how to attach it very neat to the skirt part. All right, so let me just quickly cut this out and then we continue. Now for the peplum, you can see I have my fabric in 4 folds already, so I'm using the same full circle method to cut out the peplum. Now for this style, you can decide to use the square or the straight method. You can also decide to use the circle method, but I normally use circle method because at the end of the day, you're going to have a very fluffy ball dress. So now remember that what I am using for the width is 3 inches. So I'm going to add what I want to use, that is the length of my peplum. Now the skirt length I'm working with is 10 inches, so I'll be making the length of my peplum to be 6 inches. So 6 plus the 3 inches width is going to make it 9 inches. So I'm going to mark out 9 inches all the way around, or you better see you can cut out 3 inches before marking out or cutting out the 6 inches. Is still the same, right? So I'll just go ahead and mark, after which I am going to connect and then cut it out before we'll now make it a high-low kind of peplum. Okay, so I'm just trying to cut this out first. This is my full circle, as you can see. So this is going to be for the back side and this is going to be for the front side. But now I am going to slash this part open, this front side open. But before that, we're going to alter this a bit. Remember I said that it should look like a high-low peplum. All right, so now this is the front, this is the back side. Now for this back side, I can decide to make it 3 inches or even 4. So it all depends on what you want to achieve. So I'll make mine 3 inches or 3.5 because of my sewing allowance. So this is 3.5 here for the back side. That is where I'm marking now. So this is for the back side. I'll go ahead and mark 3. Okay, then now this is the side. Remember that this is for the side. I'll also mark 3. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now is to connect this to meet up to this end. Okay, so for this part I want it 6 inches and this other side I want it 3 inches. So all I'm going to do is to use my free hand to trace it to join or to meet up to this part. So you just use your free hand and trace, and here it is. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting this part off, as you can see. So before that I am going to pin. So after cutting now, I'm going to show you how to place it on the back side. That is the side that we're going to the side that will be putting the net. This is where the peplum will sit. So let me just pin and then cut so we can start the sewing. The back side, like I was saying, this part is where I'll be adding the net, while the other side is going to be the satin alone. And now this is my peplum and this is the front side. So I am going to slash it open now. Okay, and this is how I'll be placing it on this part. So this part that is long is going to be on this end, and then same thing on this other side. Now you can see that I have a little excess. This is the center point, and you can see that it's a little long. All I need to do now is to use my gather stitch a little so that it will tally with this part. Okay, so same thing on this other side. Now you can see that for this back side, remember that we're going to open it again because of the sewing allowance. So this part we're going to slash it open, sorry, because of the zipper allowance. So this is what it should look after doing all that. So I'll just quickly cut out all my lining and then I'll take us to the sewing machine and show you how to do the stitching part. So this is where we are so far. As you can see, I just finished joining my lining on each of the peplum. All right, and then for this front side that I'm going to pleat, I folded this hem part so that by the time I join the side, it's going to look clean. So at this point I'm going to create the little pleats on this part and do the same on this other side using the inch that I left for the pleat. And then for this back side I'm going to be cutting out my net. Like I said earlier, these parts depend on the volume that you want this to have. So you can see that my net is already on fold just for easy cutting. So I'll go ahead and mark out the length that I'm working with. So I'll just cut this part off because I don't want it to show. So just mark out the length and then cut. You can see that it's just straight, it's not in a circle form. So now just mark out the length. After cutting, I'll just use my gather stitch and run it straight, then join it on that back side. Always remember to open it for the zipper allowance. Alright, so this part is very easy. So what I'm going to do now is to open it up so that I'll have two pieces of it, so that one side is going to be for this and the other side is going to be for this. So after using my after gathering it, I'll just stitch it in here, okay, before adding this other part. And for this other part, remember I said I'm going to gather it a bit. You can see by placing it like this, you can see that this part, this one is longer, so I'll need to gather it a bit so that it will be the same length with what I have here. Just a little gather, okay, and this is what I'm going to have at the end of the day, but this will come after joining the net. So I'll just take it one at a time. Let me gather my net and then join it to this before joining the peplum. After joining everything, you can see what I have here. This is the plate and this is how this part turned out. So for this side, if you want to achieve more volume, all you need to do is to increase the width or you can also double it. So for this, the weight I use for this ruffles here is 60 inches. This other side is 60 inches as well. So you can make yours 120. Like I said earlier, it all depends on the volume you have in mind. So this is what the front looks like, and this is my zipper side, and this is the back. So after everything, I'm going to use my weaving to make this part clean. So I'm going to show us how to draft the princess that for 3 to 6 month old, because it's a little different. So here I have my pattern. This is for 3 months to 6 months. So this is my pattern. I'm going to bring this closer so you can see it very well. So the only thing I need to draft the princess that here is just the chest span measurement. So for this, you don't need the chest point and the under the chest measurement, just the chest span is what is needed. So for this, like I said earlier, it is 4 inches. So all I'm going to do is to come over to this waist area and then mark. I'm going to mark 2 inches. You know that this is just one. By the time we open it up, that is the full front, is going to be 4 inches. So I'll just mark 2, but also remember to add the sewing or the joining allowance here. So I'll just make it 2.5 inches. So this half is just for my joining allowance. I'll come to the back and I'll repeat the same 2.5, which is here. All right, so now come over to this armhole area. Remember, this part is the midpoint of what you have as the armhole length. So this is the midpoint and this is for the back side. So I'll just come over to this midpoint and go down by 1/2 inch, which is here. I'll do the same for the back, 1/2 inch, it is here. Okay, so I'll now take my ruler and connect, just curve it a little bit to meet up to this point here. So I'm using this, I'll just curve it a little and I'll connect. Okay, same thing goes for the back side. So I'll just connect. It all depends on how. If you want it too curvy, you can just take your ruler down and make it to be very curvy. Then here I will just go up by 1/2 inch. Okay, just follow this line. Okay, let me just use my ruler. All you need to do, just follow the line and mark like 1/2 inch upward. This will enable you to have a perfect fit after joining both sides. If you don't do this, you're going to have shortage on this part. Then I'll just go back and connect it back to the to this part, that is the armhole, the initial armhole. I'll just connect it back to meet up to that point. So I'll repeat the same for the back side. You can see that it's very easy. All right, so this is the front. Okay, then I'm going to add my 1 inch sewing allowance. This 1 inch is for both the ease and the sewing allowance. Okay, so this is very easy. Make sure to give it a try. So I'll just go ahead and attach the bodice to the skirt part, and then add my lining and of course the zipper. Okay, if you want, you can also include a hard net. If you want it to be fluffy, you can either use hard net or your normal net and create layers. I have a detailed video on how to create layers with your normal net on the lining so that your dress will come out fluffy. All right, so I'm going to drop the link in the description box in case you need that. All right, so that is it for today. This is how to go about making this beautiful dress. So I'll see you all in my next one.